now, but you all have these packages on your table. And in the industry, what we're doing now when we suspect there's mold on the ceiling, or if we think we have bed bugs, there's ways that we find out about it. We call in the tester to take a sample of the mold, and they send it to the laboratory, and then we get an answer back. And the best way is to test for DNA. And so those are the kind of tests you want to know if that space still has evidence of bed bugs in it. So from time to time, organizations sell things so they can finance what they do. We run golf outings, we run dances. Some organizations sell insurance, some have expos. And so this opportunity came to NYARM, where you can purchase it through NYARM at no higher cost than if you would through any other distributor. And so we'll be talking about this a little later, but that's what this is all about. This is going to, when Phyllis talks about the mold laws, this is going to help you react faster, so you don't get into a lawsuit and you don't break any laws with that. And when Jay talks about having your building be in compliance, this is an answer to some of that as well. That you keep track of all your activities once mold is detected. And that is the beauty of fast information. Because when you do this, NYARM sells these for $150 each. I recommend that every maintenance worker should have one in their back pocket. So it's at the moment they see something they don't like. We don't know what it is. They take a swab of it, okay? Very simple. It goes there. The instructions in the past were, you go back to your office, you get some Scotch tape, try to tape it up there. It's very difficult to do. And then find a lab who's going to take it from you. So these are prepaid, $150. Then your cost, you overnight it to the lab in Texas. The next day, within 24 hours, you get an email of the result. We test for over 150 organisms. This is not asbestos or lead or anything like that.
Our lab was the first commercial DNA testing laboratory in the United States. We opened up in 1991, and we were recognized as the industry leader in the identification and detection of insects, pests, rodents, organisms, bacteria, all these types of components. So we've been doing this for many, many years, in excess of 20, starting with the federal government, all the way down to having 93% of the veterinarian business in the United States. We receive samples every day from all over the world, and we are regarded as the leading expert in what we do. BugLab came along and decided that it was now time, given what it was going on in the environment, to take these applied technologies and take them out of the laboratory and apply them into everyday living situations. So we are now testing all environments for things like MRSA, bacteria, mold.
What about Legionnaires'?
Legionnaires' disease and water supplies.
Good.
Bed bugs, fleas, ticks. So we are able to do things that most laboratories cannot do. And although there are some laboratories that do some of what we do, we have a proprietary testing that allows us to do in hours what it takes them days, weeks, or months to do.
Okay, so when you say what they can't do, meaning you found a methodology that gets the results?
Well, it's a couple of different things. First of all, the ability to be able to do faster testing is dependent upon having equipment that is generally 10 times more expensive than the standard equipment being utilized by most facilities.
Okay.
It also requires enhanced and additional training over long periods of time, and a lot of it is kind of trial and error.
Okay.
It's also a lot of computer programming. But the real secret to what we've been able to do over the last 20 years is we have been able to enhance the process by which components of the DNA are extrapolated from the sample and tested. And because we have reworked this process, the re-engineering of this now not only makes our testing faster process, but it gives us more information that is more enhanced and more in-depth. So we can tell you things like how much of an infestation you have, how much of a concentration it is, and give you directions on what it is you need to be able to remediate the problem.
Okay. So that in the back end at the lab. So apparently, then you've made this convenient method to get it to the lab. So that makes the lab uber fabulous. So now, rather than as a building manager for years, we would take the Scotch tape and try to what is that? Take the Scotch tape, put it in something, and then try to find a lab to handle
We can, this is very convenient. We're testing everything from kitchens for salmonella.
Okay.
We're testing mold.
Surfaces.
So
Okay.
any kind of surface. You can use this to go into a ventilation shaft, or an air return. Okay, you can use this to go on counters, baseboards, under sinks, into tight areas and walls. You can use this basically anywhere in any environment. You can do it in an office, you can do it on a desk, you can do it on a chair, you can do it anywhere.
Okay, so it's surfaces, and so while you the disease organism or the organism, it's not what it isn't. So the public doesn't misunderstand. We're not testing, me to find out if I've got a bacteria somewhere. You're not testing the person having something. You're testing a surface. The surface could be on
The surface could be, but basically we are testing environments and we are testing humans externally. Okay? We are not a medical testing facility. We are an environment and veterinary testing facility. So we test things that are on surfaces, we are testing things that are in the air, and we are the expert for anything that is an animal insect pest.
So if a landlord has a rule against no dogs,
Yes.
and he wants to test to see if there's been dog DNA, bingo.
Absolutely. This test is very sensitive. First of all, we test for saliva, dander, blood, feces, and urine. So these are all the different things. This test is so sensitive that if you wake up in the morning and you notice that you've been bitten in the morning, if it's been less than 8 hours and you have not treated the bite, you can actually swab the skin and get actually a sample of dander or a sample of saliva and put it in this, and we will be able to tell you exactly what it is that bit you.
That's great. Now, in the environment sector, there's what's referred to as a third-party tester, and I see now a third-party tester may use this, but I don't see this as replacing the need for a third-party tester. So while a building staff person, the first sight, it's really first sight, building staff person, first sense should take a sample.
Well, what this is this gives it. This is simple enough and quick enough that it can be used by anyone, any place. Now, we restrict access to this because certain tests we believe should only be performed by people who have certain experiences in certain areas. So we limit what tests are available to be purchased by whom. This test absolutely could and should be utilized by somebody who is very expensive, very experienced, and does this as a course of maybe some sort of legal proceeding, because our test is more sensitive and it is a quicker process. But the design was with the idea that routine maintenance workers, building owners, people of this nature would be utilized.
Right, exactly, and that's and the sooner, because every position piece that an attorney might write on environmental lawsuits, the sooner you know, then the sooner you can react and you abate it accordingly. So in the end, it's when you need that third-party test. So a third-party testing company may use this, or they may use their own method to collect it. This is a collecting method, but it's really about the early detection.
It's all about the early detection.
By making it convenient,
Right.
then you're more prone to have the early detection.
Well, first of all, you're limiting the negative impact of early detection, and you are also limiting the cost of remediation and the issues that go with it. Bed bugs, for instance. If you catch it early when it's in your apartment, you're talking about one level of treatment. If it's spread through the walls into other units, you're talking about a whole nother level of problem solving,
Right.
which is increased time, increased expense,
Cost, right.
inconvenience, lawsuits.
Right, right. I mean, bed bugs can empty a building. Legionnaires certainly can empty a building.
Absolutely.
We've seen it happen time and time again.
Sure.
And so in theory, every contractor, every mechanic should have one in their bed pocket.
And that is the beauty of fast information. Because when you do this, NYARM sells these for $150 each. I recommend that every maintenance worker should have one in their back pocket. So it's at the moment they see something they don't like. We don't know what it is. They take a swab of it, okay? Very simple. So these are prepaid, $150. Then your cost, you overnight it to the lab in Texas. The next day, within 24 hours, you get an email of the result. We test for over 150 organisms. This is not asbestos or lead or anything like that. So it's something that is an organism.